Remember that last year, Detroit recorded the fewest homicides it has had since 1957. Remember when we were here last year, the mayor said that this year would be a test. Well, we are below those record lows from this time last year. In fact, we are 21% below. The reduction in non-fatal shootings is even more dramatic. This year, we have had almost a 25% drop in non-fatal shootings from last year. In terms of lives impacted, this means that there have been 182 fewer victims of gun violence in Detroit than there were at this time a year ago. 269 fewer victims than 2 years ago when we formed this partnership. Make no mistake, violent crime is down. It is down dramatically. This is great news and shows that we are moving in the right direction. But please don't mistake this for a celebration. The amount of violence in this city is still unacceptable. And we will not stop this work until we see numbers in lower and double digits and even single digits, recognizing that every number counts, because that is a person and a family affected by violence, trying to move toward fewer and fewer homicides and significantly reduce violent crime even more. And we know this is possible. Let's take Boston, for example. I was recently in Boston, a city about the same population size of Detroit, that has committed to this holistic, evidence-based approach a long time ago, and are using the same strategies that we're using here. And from homicides of approximately 152 in Boston in the 90s, Boston experienced a 37% decrease from 2012 to 2023. And in 2023, Boston had 37 homicides. And so far, they have only had 13. And that's up 3 from when I was just there a couple of weeks ago. But still, such a remarkably low number of homicides. This is achievable in Detroit. So let's talk about our work, about our existing strategies and our next steps. As you know, we are at this work year-round. Federal and local prosecutors are working directly with precincts year-round. We are working with returning citizens year-round. But we supplemented that work with strategies intending to keep violence from increasing during the summer. And we focused that summer work in 2 of the most violent precincts in the city of Detroit, the 8th and the 9th precinct. On the enforcement front, we are committed to focusing our enforcement efforts on the relatively small number of people, groups, and places that drive so much violence. The 8th and 9th precinct are among the most violent in the city. So we focused our summer efforts there. Between the 2 precincts and the city parks, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we accepted for federal prosecution 23 cases. All of those cases involved illegal gun possession. During the investigation of these offenses, 26 guns were seized. ATF has now analyzed those guns and determined that 14 of them were crime guns linked through ballistics to 42 other crimes, including non-fatal shootings and 1 homicide. And as for prevention, the One Detroit partners know that to succeed, we need to prevent crime, not to punish it. So we balance our enforcement work with prevention. This year, like the last 2, we hosted a community picnic, the Peaceniks, at the Howman Rec Center in the 9th precinct and at O'Hare Park in the 8th. These events are designed to encourage positive interactions between the community and law enforcement that serve them, and to connect community members with the services they need. The One Detroit partners spread the word by walking the 8th and 9th precincts for weeks beforehand and personally inviting those who live there to attend. We wanted folks to know who we are and what we are doing. to build trust, and it worked. Many of the folks we encountered and more came to the Peaceniks. Between the two events, thousands of Detroiters showed up. They ate together. They played basketball, chess, and cards together. They hustled together. And the children had fun in the bounce houses, at the petting zoo, and playing soccer. Over 70 providers offered services ranging from health and wellness to job training to housing to expungement. And during the promotion of the event, Deputy Mayor Bettison and I, Detroit Police Academy cadets, leaders of those two precincts, and folks from my office engaged with the community and talked to them about other quality of life issues such as blight and other concerns. One neighbor advocated for her young neighbor who was an only child, who recently lost his mother and was trying to manage the house and the bills there alone. Through this partnership, our community partner, Black Family Development, was deployed to help that young man and continues to support him with not only help with the original concerns, but with food and other needed support. And what was even better, as we walked those streets, the residents in those areas expressed their appreciation for us engaging with them in this very significant, tangible, personal way, seeing people and building trust. Students in the 8th and 9th precincts were invited to submit essays, music videos, or spoken word, imagining, reimagining, and defining their lives and futures to compete for awards. The essay winner beautifully described her resilience, adaptability, and perseverance, adjectives that also describe our city. Black Family Development also helped find additional resources for that award winner and continue to support her to this day, and she's a student at the University of Nevada. We followed the Peaceniks up with peace marches led by our faith-based partners on the east and west side, Bishop Harris. Over 200 Detroiters marched through the city, singing, chanting, and calling for an end to violence. They streamed out to Gratiot and McNichols, where dozens of cars driving by slowed down and honked their horns in support. And on the reentry front, finally, we know that to succeed, we need to work with citizens returning to the community to ensure a smooth transition to a productive life rather than a return to crime and violence. To foster that, like last year, this summer, we invited returning citizens and their families to re-entry roundtables where they could have open, safe discussions about the hurdles they face and obtain resources they could use. Since we've begun this work, more than 170 justice-impacted people have attended roundtables, and more than half of those were in contact with service providers afterwards. Our partner leader over this pillar, Michigan Department of Corrections, reports that those who participated in the roundtables had fewer probation violations than expected, and these were probationers who were at a very high risk of recidivism. In fact, there have been a total of 145 probationers who attended the roundtables since June 28th of 2023. Of the 145, 17 probationers have violated probation within 90 days of the roundtable. Of that 17, only 5 probationers have violated with a new assaultive crime. The others were for a technical nature. The work this summer has paid dividends. There were 68 homicides this summer in Detroit, still far, far too many. But last year there were 82. There were 231 non-fatal shootings this summer. Last year there were 306. In the 8th and 9th precincts, the violent crime numbers held steady from a year ago, 1 fewer homicide in the 8th and 1 more in the 9th. But matching last year, even when last year had a record low amount of violence, is not enough. As I mentioned, we won't stop. We won't stop until we can save so many more families from suffering from the trauma of violence. So we also have discussed another initiative, And that is, we have learned that violence often happens in clusters, and at times the same gun is used repeatedly over a short period of time. Due to the incredible and unique teamwork between the ATF and Detroit Police Department, spent bullet casings from every shooting in the city are collected and analyzed, often within 24 hours of the shooting. When that ballistics analysis connects one gun to multiple incidents, a dedicated team of ATF agents, officers, and prosecutors will now initiate fast-moving, proactive investigations to locate the gun and identify the offender. In the first 9 months of this effort, 34 crime guns have been seized, 7 men have been charged federally, and others have been referred for prosecution by Wayne County. The One Detroit Partnership started because we know that by working together, we can accomplish goals we could not have dreamed of when working alone in our silos. And together, we are accomplishing a lot. But we are just getting started. We will continue to coordinate, collaborate, and innovate, and do everything we can in our power to prevent violence, because every act of prevention saves 2 lives, the shooters and the victims. And we will continue to use all of our tools to identify, investigate, and prosecute those who choose to shoot in this city. And because we have committed to being transparent about our work, we will not only have this press conference, but we'll also share these results with the communities most affected, both in the 8th and 9th precinct. So in the 8th precinct, we will have what we are calling our community huddle, something we did last year to report out to the people most affected by violent crime. And in the 9th precinct, we'll have a community huddle on September 25th. I'll now turn it over to one of our great partners, Deputy Mayor Todd Bettison.
U.S. Attorney Eisen, I just want to first of all thank you. When we started this journey 3 years ago, didn't really know what to expect. But this U.S. Attorney right here, I would have to say, probably the most active in the United States of America, and just engaging when it comes to community. The community outreach is second to none. As she already spoke to, when it comes to community engagement, we do it differently. We're out there walking, knocking on doors, and really engaging, but also with the same type of energy, pulling this partnership together, breaking down silos. And so you have federal, you have state, you have local, but then the community, you have the faith-based, and let's not forget the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office as well, and have done it so well that in Ypsilanti, they actually had a peacenik there also. And so Mayor Duggan said last year when he was standing here that, okay, judge us on next year results. And as you can see, the crime numbers have consistently went down. And so my challenge, and we've already said, U.S. Attorney Eisen has said, we will not stop. We will continue layer upon layer. And so the city of Detroit is behind you 100%. We are going to continue to bring our resources. And when I say our resources, if you ask anybody in the community, the 8th, the 9th precinct, or around the city of Detroit, how does blight make you feel? Blight, regardless of whether crime is going down, it still has an unsafe, uneasy feeling. And so in the 8th and 9th precinct, over the summer between Labor Day and when we initially started at Memorial Day, we had our Department of Public Works over there attacking issues, because when it's about community trust, when you're out there talking and you're the deputy mayor, you're the U.S. attorney, they're going to give you various issues. They're going to say, you see that pile of trash right there? We need that up. And they don't want to wait until the day of the peacenik. And so I want to just thank our department directors as well, who I pushed on, Director Ron Brundage from DPW, getting out there, removing the blight. Also, when it comes to abandoned houses, getting that clearboarded, because sometimes, you know, children would, you know, go into some of the abandoned houses. So whether or not we're rehabbing them, whether or not we're demolishing them, or regardless, we're going through there addressing those problematic locations and securing them, making them safe. And so on behalf of Mayor Duggan, the city of Detroit, this partnership, it is One Detroit. And I love that because we have other city officials from various parts of the country who do come, and they love the moniker as well. And so they was like, hey, maybe we can be a one. I won't put their names or their business out there, but it's very, very beneficial because it breaks down silos and it brings us together, and it really is truly One Detroit. And I just want to really thank Chief White as well for the Detroit Police Department's commitment, because I wasn't out there walking alone. It was our neighborhood police officers, it was our cadets, and so DPD has been right there, and I'll say it, I believe DPD is the best police department in the entire country. So thank you all to all the partners. Give Bishop Van, my thank you as well, Bishop Harris. And so whether it's FBI, ATF, or whomever, Homeland Security, at those peaceniks, what was so unique about it is the community came and they knew that law enforcement was there, and they got the resources, and we were able to connect them to employment opportunities. We were able to connect them to if they were housing insecure, whatever the issue was, it was a one-stop shop, because holistically we have to deal with the entire person and the community to make it a safer place to be. Thank you all.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Isom, for having me here today. But I also want to thank Alvin Stokes, Bishop Van, Bishop Harris, Kenyatta Stevens, and the rest of your team that helped put this together. As the Deputy Mayor indicated, when we started this, we didn't know what it would look like. The layered approach is certainly something we always talk about. But when you see the results and you look at what happened last year, lowest crime in many, many years, this year we knew we're competing against ourselves. We won't be able to stand here and talk about how we're better than 1957 or 1966. How do we save lives? How do we work together and collaborate to ensure that citizens of our city start to feel and see what we're trying to do? And it is this collaboration between agencies, between the community, between our clergy, and certainly the men and women of the Detroit Police Department who have done an amazing job, whether it be walking with the Deputy Mayor, or walking with me on our Walk 'em Out Wednesdays, or walking with our actual U.S. Attorney who is out there encouraging people to come to the peaceniks. All of those things incrementally make an impact in the overall feeling of our community. And then it's the enforcement component of using data to drive our decisions. Who are the most violent people in our community, and what are they doing? And having a U.S. Attorney that completely is committed to holding those folks accountable and getting them off the street, but at the same time recognizing that no police officer, no police chief, no U.S. attorney in the history of this country has ever completely arrested the last criminal. So the idea would be to stop someone from becoming a criminal. And how do you do that? You look at those influencers to criminality. You recognize that people need resources. You recognize everything from their economic circumstance to the ability to provide for their families. And with those peaceniks, we were able to do different things. We were able to, one, let citizens see us in a non-confrontational way, to whether they're playing checkers or playing basketball or just sitting and talking. It was a very positive thing. And then to have resources there so when they leave the peacenik, they can go back to their respective communities and talk about the things that they've gleaned from the interaction. And sometimes it's as simple as, how do I get a driver's license? How do I get a job? How do I do something different than I'm doing right now? I want to get away from this violence. I want to get away from criminality, and having those resources there to provide them with something to take back to the community and change their lives. So as Chief of Police, I am in a very good place to have the public-private partnerships that we have, to have the federal, local, and state partnerships, a great relationship with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, but having a U.S. Attorney and a Mayor's Office that understand the impact on crime to our overall feeling of safety, as well as having a partnership that is focused not just on one part of our city, but the whole part of our city, and respecting everybody and giving everybody a chance. I say thank you, ma'am. And thank you for this partnership, and we're looking forward to keeping it going, because as you always say, we are not stopping. We are not going to stop. We're going to keep it going. So thank you very much.
And there's a lot of praise bestowed on me, but this work is done by the talented people in this office, and they work really hard, and they're committed to this effort to the same degree and have the same passion, if not more, that I do. So I'm very grateful for all of the hardworking people in the U.S. Attorney's Office who help, from this standpoint, make this collaboration work and carry out all of this great work, important work that matters to communities. So if you have any questions, we'll take some now.
How important is the community involvement with this partnership for the residents to come out?
Yeah, well, this is just one way in which we engage with the residents, the peaceniks during the summer. But we go and have listening sessions. We have prosecutors in my office who attend the community relations meetings in 5 precincts in Detroit. And they go there and they listen to the concerns of the community there. We are constantly going and reaching out to communities and listening to them, seeing them, and making sure we're trying to address their concerns. Because I'm going to be honest, this title was rented for me. So at some point, I'm going to have to leave. I am going to have to leave. But the community will be there. And so what we're trying to do is build something, empower communities in a way that they know how they can take care, not only take care of themselves, but take care of themselves in partnership with law enforcement. And so we're trying to empower the communities to know the power of their voice, to know the power of what they can do to reclaim their neighborhoods, to know the power of the impact they can have at bringing peace to their neighborhoods. So this is what we're trying to do, sustain the community in a way so that they can have the power.
And if I could, I would love to also address that, just from a community standpoint. I live in number 9. It's so important in the words that you hear coming from the other residents on the impact that you all have made.
Come in.
I think it's
So you asked a question about community. I also live and pastor. I was raised in the 9th precinct area, and word from the residents starting 3 years ago when they started doing these peaceniks, it has most certainly improved in terms of relationship with law enforcement, with U.S. Attorney's Office, and just never underestimating the power of being heard. When you do those peace marches and those peaceniks, you begin to hear around after people are saying to me, when is the next one coming? You guys are only going to do this once a year? We need this more and more and more. And so the involvement of the community taking place in this essence, there really is a huge impact. Our church has been impacted. People are walking around all the time, and living in that area used to be a time, maybe several years ago, when every night it seemed like, especially in the summer, you were hearing these gunshots. I'm hearing lesser and lesser and lesser of them. And I know that it's the work of this prestigious team that's before us today. So that is a very easy, it's impactful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any other questions? You don't have any? We answered them all? Oh, this is success. This is success.
How's the 8th and 9th? Give me a sales pitch to move into that area. If I wanted to move in, are you seeing housing? Are you seeing people with more income moving in, more jobs being created in the 8th and 9th areas?
It's so interesting that you talk about that. Our work is not done. I'll just say that our work is not done. We know that we have a lot more work to do to make the people in that community feel valued, feel like they're living in a peaceful place. As we remove violent people from these areas to make it peaceful, it should look peaceful, and they should have access to things like so many other communities do. So that your question invokes my response. Our work is not done.
Ma'am, we're seeing housing values rise across the whole city, and so the 8th and 9th precinct is no exception. We're seeing folks moving in, and it's a lot of excitement. And the 9th precinct is also one of our strategic neighborhood fund areas, so that Gratiot 7 Mile area. And so you can look that there will be additional streetscapes, there'll be additional investments, economic development that's planned for that area. So we've done some amazing things over the Duggan administration when it comes to dealing with blight. And our motto in the city of Detroit is blight to beauty. And the wonderful thing about the 8th and 9th precinct, the people. The people are committed, And that's the most valuable asset a community can have. They have strong block clubs and they work together, and we're going to just keep on going. So absolutely, we're seeing folks move into the 8th and 9th precinct.
Talk about organizing, coming together, time, resources. How much does funding from any aspect?
This is what we do. I mean, this is our work. Our charge is to keep the country safe, to keep the people in our district safe. This is the work we do. So is our budget not the best? Are we operating on limited resources because we have fewer prosecutors, fewer support staff? Yes, but we won't stop. We still get the work done, and that's why I'm so proud of all the work that my team and everybody else who has suffered with strapped resources. We still get the work done because it's important, and it's our charge to take care of the people in this community.